$700 Fox Float X2 versus Super Deluxe that comes on your bike. Does more clickers mean more better? In this video, we're gonna find out. Problem I have with the Super Deluxe and all Super Deluxes I've ever ridden is I have to pump it to 300 PSI almost 300 PSI because I weigh 230 pounds. And then the rear end of the bike is bucking, even with the rebound dead slow. So being no suspension guru, I called a shop and it went something like this. Yes, your Super Deluxe, you don't like it? Yes, we would love to tune that for you, bro, but first, why don't you pump the shock up, pack it full of spacers, let me know how it rides. And if it's not good, bring it in and we'll put a custom tune in it, bro. I'm gonna film a couple base runs at where I like to run the Sag. I like to run 35% Sag, so the bike is reward. There's nothing wrong with the shock when I'm on natural terrain. Okay, so on these machine tracks, oh boy, I filmed it. There it is. It looks like the shock's packing down. Base run completed, where I like it, 35% Sag, and everything was fine as long as I keep the wheels on the ground, but when I run on tracks, like machine tracks with multiple jumps, that's when the rear end starts bucking. Hey Siri, how many tokens can my RockShox Super Deluxe take?
Okay, I found this on the web. For how many tokens can my RockShox Super Deluxe KC? Check it out.
I'm just gonna run one Nardog and one regular. Last spot. Definitely. Oh, it feels better. Great learning experience to film the shock.
It's packing down and doing a funky rebound thing.
It felt much more supportive with the tokens, but the compromise is less poppy and more harsh on the rough stuff. Finally, I took this to my little bike park with a million jumps and I got the major buck problem. I realized I don't have the best technique, but I didn't have problems on this shock, and I honestly don't know if I can make this Super Deluxe work.
Harry, throw that piece of shit away. Everyone knows RockShox sucks.
Look, it's time to come to the dark side of high and low speed compression.
But I like RockShox, it's easy to service and find parts for.
Only rebel scum use RockShox.
First run on the X2 went like shit. RockShox totally better on the initial setup. I'm gonna have to go home and get my shock wizard and set a tune on that. Best way I can explain an X2 is like a blank piece of paper and you have to do all the programming. So the X2 felt fantastic on those trails. Like, holy crap, the thing is so plush. To be expected, it's a super premium product. But this video isn't all about X2. We gotta make this Super Deluxe work. It's tune time. Shop was on the Super Deluxe tune, so he's gotta call it in. It's gonna be like 250 bucks, more than the price of the shock. The mechanic was super nice, asked me a bunch of details. We decided the rebound was too fast and he took one shim out of the stack. There was another option to do a Vorsprung tune, but it was like way more than a shock. You can find Super Deluxes for $150 on Pink Bike all day long, so it's really hard to swallow $210 service. Let's go ride this. Back-to-back runs with the Super Deluxe. After getting the base tune in the X2, it's pretty unbeatable the way it feels.
Oh my God, there's trees in the way. Oh, the fork feels so much better.
Halfway down the trail, I pretty much forgot about the rear suspension. I was just noticing how well the Boxer was, because when I was there a few weeks ago, I had a Zeb on the bike.
The X2 is storing the heat in the piggyback. It was at 100 degrees earlier, just a normal temperature here.
X2 was excellent on all trails, no surprise. After the budget tune and slowing the rebound down, it basically fixed all the problems in this shock, except for it's a little bit too harsh with too many tokens. But the Super Deluxe was actually running cooler. It's really kind of a shock because the X2 is such a bigger shock. The heat is stored in the piggyback on the X2, and the Super Deluxe, it's stored in the stanchion. I think this is why this shock fades more, because the heat is like here. After the all-day back-to-back on the Super Deluxe and the X2, I decided to go to the bike park with the Super Deluxe and spend all day tuning it. And what I came up with is higher pressure and less tokens gives it a more playful feel, and more tokens and less air makes it more planted. This shock experiences quite a bit of fade. It only takes about 1 mile of downhill. The stanchion gets super hot and then the shock feels super harsh. The custom tune did fix almost everything. Pros of the Super Deluxe. It's definitely cheaper on the aftermarket. I found it to be a little more poppy. The setup is like a no-brainer. The Saga indicators are wonderful. The cons of the Super Deluxe. It fades super quick on downhill lines and becomes pretty harsh. It needs to be opened up to be properly tuned. The Fox Float X2 is so plush, it's like a coil. It experiences almost no fade. You can just basically tune it on the trail side. It's wonderful. The negatives. This thing is pretty hard to set up. I'm totally lost without a shock wizard. Fortunately, you can rent those from a shop. This shock's also pretty heavy if you care about that stuff. If you're not an ogre like me or on a 60-pound e-bike, the Super Deluxe is perfectly fine. I find it great on my analog bike. The X2, I really need it because I'm so heavy and I'm on a 60-pound e-bike. Suspension nerds will also really like this. This thing is like a sharp knife and this is like a butter knife. I think it's totally worth it to buy the X2 if you're a super serious rider.